Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. This is the first time I'm trying this version of a video, but I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to walk you through a painting and just tell you how it went. Admittedly, this is not my best painting that I've ever done, and there's definitely things I'd like to fix about it, which also seems like a really good opportunity to just narrate everything and see if you can learn from my mistakes. So, you can see that I had a reference shot and I've already put in all of the landmarks of the painting with a pencil sketch that I kind of just like free-handed. Actually, I lied. There are some things that I did very much so, like transfer over in exacting proportions, like the umbrella and the actual figure of the lady. But I think everything else I basically sketched in loosely. Specifically though, because the umbrella and facial proportions are just those things that you can't fake and you can't even be a little bit off where it just looks real funky. So to prevent that, I've done things like coloring on the back of the reference and transferring it in. I've done tracing via like a out of focus projector. Out of focus being the operative word here, because like I don't want it to be an exact replica, because that's just photography and what that is, but it is kind of interesting to like get the exacting proportions down on paper so that that'll help you much later in the composition and in the process. Because yeah, again, if you get someone's nose even like a little bit wrong, it will hurt you until the end of the painting when you give up crying. So basically what I'm doing here is I am working on paper, really hefty watercolor paper, and I am just blocking in some colors. I know I'm probably not going to leave any of this exposed because I was planning on doing the entire thing in gouache, but at the moment I was just sitting there going like, I don't know what colors I want. I kind of want pastel-y, but I'm not quite sure what that feels like or what that looks like. And so instead of sitting there just being confused and hoping for the best while I lay down thick color, I figured I could work with watercolor first so that when I actually find that magical composition, that magical palette to work with, then I go like, oh, okay. And then I can lean in with the gouache versus trying to invent on a white surface. Because again, sometimes it's about ideating and layering up versus just going like, this is the one I'm committing to, and then having it go awry and not being able to fix it. So I have layered on just a ton and a half of green and blue, which I don't know why I started with those two colors, but that's probably why I had this thought right here, which is like, add some pink, girlfriend, you'll feel better about it. And unfortunately, I made that very dark and then went, well, and panicked about the whole thing. But I also knew that I wanted her dress to be the focal point. So I was like, okay, maybe mauve on the umbrella is going to push it into the background just enough that the pink of the dress can really pop. I already knew that the pink of the dress would pop well because it's opposite to green in the background. But that is just, a little bit of color theory. I also was sitting there going like, whoop, too much water. Anytime there's a sheen on the page from the amount of puddling I've done, I go, oh, that didn't work. I can't say I'm the best at watercolor, but again, as an underpainting, the goal was to play enough with the colors that I felt confident when I went in with opaque layers versus a watercolor, which kind of has to be like working from light to dark, and you're working in the layers from the get-go, right? This one was literally like, it's going to be one layer of watercolor and a million layers of something else. So I'm not too worried right now that I went in with dark colors or, that I blotched out her face. You can see I actually made it really dark here. I may regret that later, but it's been a while since I watched the process video, so like, we'll see what that ends up doing. You can see I start very light on the pink because I almost wanted it to be like a white-ish cotton at one point, and then I was like, no, it probably needs to be like pink. So you can see I'm just building up some of those layers. I also will say, the equipment that I'm using here, the paintbrush, is a lovely aquarelle Neptune squirrel hair. I didn't know you could shave a squirrel to make a paintbrush, but sure. I love how this watercolor brush works. It is so easy to load up with color and so easy to load up with pigment, but also too, because it has such a defined point, you press hard, it's a thick line. You press lightly, it's a thin line, and you never have to be swapping back and forth on all these different brushes. So I love this brush. Like, this brush is amazing. And I do love the look of it too. It has that handmade artist quality where you can see that they like hand tightened that wire. I mean, who knows if they really did, but it does have that, like, you feel official when you're painting with that one versus like, you know, the Hobby Lobby or other craft conglomerate kind of bulk mass produced paintbrushes. Like, these ones feel special. It also was like a $25-$30 brush. It wasn't cheap. So yeah, you can see that I've completely messed up the hair at this point, but I'm not panicking because I'm like, gouache, that's what gouache is for. Gouache will fix everything. And then I'm kind of going in, oh my gosh, I'm going in way too thick. I now know better things about gouache. This might have been like my second gouache painting like ever. And so you can see that like I do not have the right texture and consistency on this gouache, but in many ways I'm using it as acrylic and I think it's probably fine. So don't judge me too harshly for this gouache. It looks like a typo on the screen, but I promise I looked it up. But yeah, it's definitely like, it's still too thick. We know this. But you can see that I'm adding in some architecture on the tree because I was planning on doing like a stippling technique where you just sort of like pounce pigment and pigment and paint into the leaves to give it a very airy look. And so I knew I needed enough of the architecture down below so that when I pounced all over it, it would kind of show through and show that this was in fact a tree. Because the worst thing you can do as an artist is like paint just the bottom of the tree and not have it show the branches all throughout. That ends up making them look very cartoonish. So that's why I'm giving it this nice dark first layer so that when I go crazy on top of it, it will look authentic, like a real tree. We're going for realism-ish. Real-ish. At this point, I am still painting that tree. I don't know why it took me so long. This looks like a large portion of this video. And oh, we're back on the hair. Okay, so this is the point where I'm sitting there going like, please, I just want some highlights. Please. I need it to be dark and defined, but also if it's too dark, it's going to look like she's wearing a hair helmet. So I hope I fix it. I don't have confidence that I do because, again, this was like one of my first gouache paintings. And are we positive that I fix it and it looks great in the end? No, we are not. I think this is also one where the face kind of goes awry and it really kills the mood of this painting. And the background is going to be a very dark green that I couldn't really reel back once I had messed it up. So there we is. But that is the thing. Like, this is an artful practice. It is still technically, even when I'm putting everything out there for you guys to see, a hobby and not a paid profession. So in many ways, I'm allowed to make these mistakes, right? I'm allowed to kind of hope for the best and have paintings not necessarily turn out the way I would have liked them. But again, we try. Okay, so I'm going in the mountains. I believe I added a lot of nice pinky hues to them so that it would pick up a little bit of harmony between the dress and the rest of the scene. Am I happy with it? It seemed like it needed to be grayer and lighter. And right now it's very dark and it's very much competing. But I'm hoping once I add all of those trees and branches and bushes and things, we'll end up a little bit better. Because, yeah, you want the least significant parts of the painting, you know, the background, to be the parts that recede, not the ones that grab your attention and smack you across the face and say, look at me. So, yeah, I think if I was doing this painting today, too, How would I do it differently? I might start completely with the background instead of going like first layer, second layer. I would do like the entire background exactly the way I wanted it. And then I would do the kind of main character energy up front. I don't know what I'm doing here other than I think there was a shadow at the bottom of the bushes. And so I'm trying to get that dark layer in first so that when I again pounce all over it in the green color to make leaves and branches and a very impressionist leaves, there will be that darkness towards the bottom and lightness towards the top that will show how the sun is shining down on her. Did it succeed? Middling. At this point, I'm going in with the most horrendous Kelly green and aqua. Good Lord, what am I doing? What even paint type is that? Oh, I think that is maybe the Liquitex gouache that I have. Ooh, not thrilled with that color. Abort. Oh no. I'm trying to add brown so that it's not so horrendously like green and like it looks like a freaking peacock. Like, what am I doing? Oh, and now I've just added acrylic paint to gouache. Oh yeah, this is a train wreck. I hope the internet enjoys this because I'm sitting there watching my own actions and going like, girl, what are you doing? Yeah, I feel like this is also the painting where I had so many materials out that I probably should have just simplified down. Was it a watercolor? Could have been. Was it a gouache? Probably should have been. Should I be mixing acrylic paint with my gouache? No. Why did I do that? Why am I using a stenciling brush to stipple? It's so circular. Oh my gosh, this has turned into a horror film commentary. I'm just watching it go awry and I can't do anything to stop it. Oh man, okay. Okay, so at this point I've really smashed the stencil brush in the hopes that that will somehow alleviate the perfectly round dimpling I'm getting on the page. It's not. Oh girl. You have so much to learn about gouache. It should be so much more liquidy than this. Okay, that's not a terrible tree branch. Like, I could have lived with that. I don't. I proceed to wreck it. I do remember that much. What even happened to this painting? I think this painting is currently under my bed, hiding in its shame. Oof. I'm going to have to edit this whole YouTube thing so that it just warns you in advance, because right now it just says process video, enjoy. And what it should say is, here is the horror of a painting that goes so wrong that just nothing can make it right. Oof. Okay. I am now still continuing to transgress over and over and over again, going, no, trust the process. I feel like I said that in the commentary that I then deleted because I didn't like the process. I took off the sound because the whole time I'm going, well, this isn't working. Oh no, I'm going to keep going. And I was like, girl, no, do not keep going. Try something else. Mix your paints correctly. What are you doing? Oh, she has acrylic paint in her gouache. Her gouache is not diluted properly. She's using a stenciling brush. What is the myriad of air? Why did you start higher than the greenery? You literally just stamped that in the sky. Oh. Okay, maybe we decided there was a tree there. I will trust you if you have decided to put a tree there, me. Why do I think that covering the dress will even help this situation too? Because I don't think I got it close enough, and it just made this very harsh line that I then had to go back and paint over. Also, it like almost looked like I started to have a dirt path of like kind of wear in the field of flowers, and I completely have gone over with it so opaque that you can't see that anymore. It's no longer there. And I just moved the freaking paper so that it didn't line up with the okay. We're going. Is this causing you guys anxiety? I don't know, because it's causing me anxiety and I did it. Like, this is on me. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're definitely going to paint her hand, and then it's going to look like her hand is behind the bush, but her hand is not behind the bush. That's why you should have done the background, and then you should have done the hand. She says to herself, knowing full well that she would do it all again the same way. I'd like to think I've learned, but I haven't. Yeah, this is also like the make sure it's nice and sparse and airy, this beautiful tree, that you can see all of the light shining through. And instead, I go through with this giant brush and I just smash it down so hard that, like, it's making it look like worms in the sky. How many different ways can I wreck this painting? What's worse, too, is I remember finishing this and being like, I'm satisfied with that result. And now I'm watching it back and I'm going, I shouldn't have been. What is this? Yeah, that's what we needed. More defined worms. Don't add more paint. No, you had enough paint. You need contrast right now because you have been using the same color the entire time for all of this branches and the ground. There should be like 50 different shades of this that I'm slowly transitioning from a dark to a lighter and lighter. Maybe I add some blue on a version of it. Maybe I add more like light green. Maybe I add yellow to a version of it, and it should be reflecting where the light is. And instead I am making a black hole of greenery. Oh gosh. No. Oh, hey, I finally have added some like Kelly green to it to make it a little bit lighter. And I am proceeding to add it only to the branches that would have gotten the most sunlight. Okay, good job, me. I'm not nope. I was going to say I'm not completely mortified, but then I started adding it to random places in the bottom corners where it clearly would be behind her in a shadow. And instead, I'm just going like, yeah, I got this. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what we needed. More Kelly green, because that's going to make it better. Did I just add like mustard yellow to that too? That was me literally. Did you see that little camera, that little brush flick where I aimed it at myself and then went, that's good, and then started pouncing away? Yeah, that was me deciding that was a good color to add. Is it no, that is such a harsh line for a shrub. No. Oh, girl. I don't know if this commentary is going to be good or just the cringiest of cringe, but I'm kind of hoping that it's at least cringy enough that you guys can learn from my mistakes. She's just going. It still looks like worms to me, but now it looks like worms that are like slightly shredded worms. Ugh. Yeah, I so wish that I could skip ahead, but also I've agreed to this commentary. I mean, to myself. Nobody has asked me to do this. I'm completely volunteering this. But I just, looking on in horror as I do this thing. This is the thing that I am doing. I want to be a painter when I grow up. Oh, gosh. Okay, I have now proceeded to wipe the palette, so this must be a different day because I gave up in frustration, and now on the palette is white. It almost appears that I have blended the gouache to actually be the right consistency. I don't think that's probably true, but it looks like I might have. And then I just proceeded to wipe across the branch of that tree so that now the tree looks like it's behind a cloud. Yep, that's accurate. Okay. I've at least added some dimension because that was still the watercolor. I hadn't even touched that with the gouache or anything. Gosh, oh my. Okay, I've now added pink to the palette, finally, because I'm about to touch either the dress or the umbrella. Which one? Anyone's guess, because I'm clearly not working in any sort of logical fashion on this piece. Oh, okay, good. I'm going to start with the light pink on the dress. I do appear to have gotten slightly better on the texture of the gouache versus the tree branch, which was literally just straight from the tube, I think, which now I'm horrified at seeing that because I've watched enough tutorials from who have I been watching? The chinoiserie lady, Diane Hill. And she did a lot of stuff about how to prepare your gouache. And I just watched and was like, oh, I have never done this right in my life, have I? Okay, so I'm getting some nice lights and darks in there. I'm kind of going back and forth though, because I think this was before I was disciplined enough to like actually follow a system. Do I still follow the system that others have prescribed fully? No, but I at least have better than to bounce back and forth between a light and a dark and a dark and a light and a light and a dark. You know, like I build up layers now that make sense for the painting that I'm on instead of just randomly stabbing at colors. What color am I even doing right now? Why did I give her like lumpy light spots in the middle of her chest too? I must be looking at the reference photo and seeing that. But since we cropped out the reference photo for this video, like you don't see that, I don't know what's happening. I sure hope this looks good at the end, because one thing that I am really diligent about is I'm very good about how lights and darks happen on fabrics with wrinkles. So as long as I'm really paying attention to the reference photo, usually I do a pretty admirable job on that specifically. But like right now, it looks like she's wearing something with like almost like inset pleats, because I've made the dark wrinkles so pronounced. And I literally just took out whatever that different shading was in the top. And I don't know what I'm going to do to add definition, but all of a sudden it looks like her back arm is completely one with the chest of her dress. So we got to add some definition. You can see I'm adding light to the side that would be being hit with sun. But girl, you got to put some darker shade on that back elbow, and you got to put some lighter shade on the edge of the chest of her dress. That would cause a clear delineation between the elbow and the chest, in which case the viewer, i.e. your future self who's mortified, would be able to tell the difference of what was going on. But no, I'm all of a sudden down at the bottom of the skirt for no reason, adding in a light stripe because, you know, why not? Oh, hey, did I do my own idea? Do it. Do it a little bit more. Add a little bit more light there. Nope, that was too light. I don't like that at all. You should have layered up to that. Instead, you're just swiping it on with bold abandon. I know that this is sped up for the process video, but also, like, look how confidently I'm doing all of the wrong things. Like, you gotta at least admire the determination with which she plunks down that wrong color like nobody's business. That is fully, you just painted her booty white. What are you doing? Am I thinking I'm going to blend this out afterwards? Maybe, but I don't think I do. So I'm just putting it there and living with the mistake, aren't I? Oh my goodness, there is only 3 minutes and 45 seconds-ish, give or take, left in this video. And like for realsies though, I have really just committed to this mess. Wow. She doesn't even have a face yet. Oh my gosh, I just realized she doesn't have a face. And what brush am I using now? I could still be using the Aquarelle brush that I love so much because this is a water-based medium gouache. But no, I'm off using, gosh, probably like an Artist Loft brush based on the gray handle. And what else am I doing? That was me thinking for a second at the same time that I thought in the audio commentary. Wow. Great minds think alike, don't they? You see me wiping my brush a lot too, and I'm like, I must have had a color I didn't like on it, which is all of them at this point, because I just was sitting there going like, it's not coming together the way I thought it would. But that is the thing with art, like, I feel like every third painting I do is really actually good. And the other two, I just go, well, I guess it paved the way for that good painting. And it's kind of like, I'm kind of convinced that talent is not how hard you have tried or how much you have like sought perfection. I really do feel like the artistry is literally just getting over and past all of the bad paintings that you have in you. If you just burn through that finite supply, you will unlock amazing, and then you will be in amazing henceforth. Now, is that maybe not even remotely correct or accurate on anyone else's level? Yeah, but like also, I truly do believe that there is a set number of bad paintings that you have to have in your life. So the sooner you get through them, the better off you'll be. So we're definitely going to call this one of the bad paintings, because I still feel like it looks like, oh, you know what that tree looks like? It looks like those snakes that pop out of the peanut cans. The little gag snakes that are little springs, the novelty snakes. Yep, that's what that looks like. I'll never unsee it. And again, I think this currently resides under my bed because it's not where the good paintings go, I'll tell you that much. And I think I did frame it too for some show that I needed something that it had to be nature inspired or flower inspired or something. And so I go, I'm just going to shoot my shot. I'm going to put something in the show because, again, you can't fail with a show, right? If you can get into the show and be on display, it's never going to hurt you. You might as well try. You might as well get your name out there. I've had paintings that I absolutely hate that's sold, right? And so sometimes you are your worst critic. Now, in this case, I really don't think I am. I really think this is quite horrible. I have not done a great job on this painting. And I think most of the commentary was, in fact, me being mortified. But with the last 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds if I keep talking, you'll see that like I do kind of turn it around. I make a decent painting. It's not going to win any awards, but I made it. And I did the thing, and I tried hard, and I got better at following references. I got better at gouache. I got better at compositions, and I got better at showing the light. I got way better at stippling in greenery because this is atrocious. But, there you go. Thank you for coming to the commentary.